get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have John Tilley of ZonGuru at ZonGuru.com. John, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes people should check out of the podcast. Since we're kind of like in the SaaS, part of the SaaS series and also the e-commerce series, from the SaaS side, an interesting one was with one of the founders of Zapier, with Wade Foster, talking about how he grew Zapier. We had one of the founders of Pipedrive talking about, again, some of the ups and downs. I think when I interviewed them, John, they were at 10,000 customers, and now I think they have over 100,000 customers. The Aweber one was interesting as well. I had the founder of Aweber on and how he grew that business. From the e-commerce side, I had our mutual friend Chad Rubin on when he had Skubana, which he has sold, and now he has Prophecy. I had James Thompson on, who actually started Prosper Show at a successful agency in the e-commerce space, and he was on Amazon, worked at Amazon too. Just impressive career. So that and many more on InspiredInsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. And we do that by helping you run your podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution. So, John, we kind of call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background and make it look easy for the host so they can create amazing content, create amazing relationships, and most importantly, run their business. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you definitely should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com or email us support@rise25.com. I also have a bunch of free episodes. It's episodes on Inspired Insider that answers almost every question someone's asked me, John, about podcasting. So check that out. I'm excited to introduce John Tilley. He's the CEO of ZonGuru. And I want to just also thank Nick Penna for introducing us. And he's a master at partnerships, helps HelloTax and runs Scale. And ZonGuru is a software tool set that helps e-com brands and agencies scale products on Amazon. Prior to actually launching ZonGuru in 2017, he launched and grew multiple brands on Amazon. He also spent 15 years working as a digital advertising executive as well. And so he brings all the value to e-com brands and agencies as well. A lot of agencies use the tool to manage their clients. So, John, thanks for joining me.
What's up? What's up, Jeremy? Yeah, the pain and the joy of e-commerce over many years. I bring that to the table. Yeah, it's good.
You have the scars to prove it. I'm gonna bring up the site. So if someone's listening to the audio, they can, there is a video piece, and I'm gonna pull up ZonGuru. But if you can just talk about ZonGuru and what you do to start.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. I'm the co-founder of ZonGuru. We're an operational tool set at our core focused on helping brands scale on Amazon. Over the last couple of years as well, we've focused a lot on helping agencies to help their clients scale on Amazon by using our tech. We have over 18 different tools, everything from kind of market research, market validation, niche validation, all the way through to our flagship products around SEO and keyword intelligence. We have a lot of firsts in the keyword space. I coined a phrase called contextual SEO, and really looking at not only the best keywords for listings and how to kind of find or get customers to find you, but also overlaying competitors and how they where they're strong and weak. So that was a first on our space, and we were the first to integrate with AI back in 2023 January. So over a year now, we were the first movers on the AI space, and we're still a leader in that space for sure. And then a bunch of other monitoring tools for Amazon, US, Europe, Australia, and India are the key markets. So generally, any kind of big challenge you have on Amazon, depending on where you are in that journey, we have tech that can help you solve that problem in a better way.
I do want to talk about, before we hit record, you mentioned something stuck out to me that you said, we're also creating tech specifically in features for agencies. So I want to talk about that. But first, the first version of ZonGuru, and then talk about the evolution. Because I'm sure you get a lot of feature requests all the time. In the beginning, you can only do so many things. What did the original software look like?
Oh man, yeah. So this was 2016, 2017. I'd been selling on Amazon for a few years, and myself and my co-founder Adam Hudson, the phrase that kept coming into my head, and it's from my advertising days, was GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, right? And I felt that there was so much information available inside of Seller Central, but a lot of the tech out there was just not showcasing the right data in the right way. And so the idea in terms of ZonGuru was, hey, can we create, an all-in-one play on software where you could log in once and have key data at each part of your Amazon journey that would help you to solve information in the most impactful and fastest, most efficient way. So that was how we went to market. And what's the saying? The saying is, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you've waited too long. So we had a crazy ZonGuru guru style, cartoon character logo, and the first tool was really it had a Chrome extension and some keyword data, and a dashboard was really the first iteration that we built out of India, as you do with sometimes with tech startups and bootstrapping, and took it to market and started.
What were you looking to solve as a seller at that point? What were some of the specific things that you wanted in this software? Because obviously you were, in a way, scratching your own itch too.
Yeah, and I think one of the main areas specifically for SMB sellers at that time was how to kind of validate a product idea. So we came up with this niche radar system, which really answers the key. It was the first really to answer the right kind of key business questions that you need to answer in order to go live with the product. So understanding demand, how much demand was there, how many people were searching for Amazon, competition.
That's kind of like the niche finder piece.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we came up with this. It's kind of a mnemonic that people know us by, called the Rainbow, which was the niche rating system, which gave you a kind of a rating based on, again, demand, amount of competition, profitability. It's not about turnover, it's about leftover, right? And what you can do with that profit, and then capital outlay to launch a product. So that was one of our biggest, first products, was how do we answer the right business questions in the right way so that you can make smart decisions about your product choice. So that was one of our first, areas of product. And then the second one was really around, keyword intelligence and finding the right keywords to put into your listings to get in front of customers and figuring out the best way to do that.
So is that with like Keywords on Fire, Keyword Tracker, and Sales Spy? Are those kind of?
Yeah, I mean, Keywords on Fire is our flagship keyword intelligence product, and then Sales Spy, Keyword Tracker. These are more monitoring tools that you use to monitor the performance of your products or your competitors, so you can get good insights, so you can optimize and improve your product further.
So the original product software you had built in India. What happened next?
Well, we started to get some really crazy growth. My business partner Adam Hudson started an education business called Reliable Education, actually based in Australia. That's not where I'm from. I'm from South Africa originally, but there's always a confusion on the accent. But he was having a lot of success there, really teaching people how to take advantage of the Amazon opportunity. We're talking 2015, 16, 17, 18, which was just this. There's still a massive opportunity today, but back then it was this insane opportunity where you could be from any country with any education background, and you could literally launch a product-based business that could compete with the best in the world on Amazon. And he created an education program around how to teach people to take advantage of the opportunity by actually teaching legitimate business practices about how to create an e-commerce brand, not just like this get rich quick type of scheme. So he was very successful there. And that was a good influx for us in terms of using our software. And the first iteration, I would say, of ZonGuru was just keeping up. We had built the tool. It was bootstrapped. It was breaking a hell of a lot. We spent a lot of time just fixing bugs and trying to ensure that we could keep up with the demand and the interest in our software. And that was a pretty rocky road for sure. But that was kind of the start, and the way you should, to a degree, do it, right? Is there's always mistakes and learnings there, but you've got to get rolling, get into the market, and then shift and navigate as you go.
How did you meet and then decide to partner up with Adam?
Well, so Adam's, he's from Australia. He had moved to Los Angeles, and I met him at a networking breakfast event called Metal. It's based in Los Angeles.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. Ken Rakowski is awesome, connector, I would say, in LA. And we connected, and I immediately picked up on Adam's entrepreneurial spirit. He's a true just entrepreneurial genius. He's always done amazing things in the space. And I was at that stage where I was still in digital advertising, and I had this entrepreneurial FOMO is what I call it. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so we connected there, and I was like, I needed Adam to help me foster the entrepreneurial spirit. And, he needed me to connect with fun things to do in LA and people to meet. So it was a pretty good initial connection, and we created a friendship out of that. And, just started to, see this opportunity around the Amazon wave, and figuring out how we could get onto the back of that and move with it.
So was he in e-commerce at that time, in the e-commerce world?
He had started a startup, creating how to demos and how to ads and a service around that. So technically e-commerce, and then actually had a product idea that he was trying to get into brick and mortar, and was facing all those obstacles, and then decided to kind of start testing on Amazon, and was blown away by the opportunity there. And that's where we kind of started, and I got involved, started selling products on Amazon, and we had masterminds up in I was staying in the Hollywood Hills at the time, and we get our friends together and look at ideas and blow them up and come up with new ones, and then just kind of start getting involved in Amazon. So that was the heyday of kind of the side hustle while we were doing a bunch of other stuff.
What type of products did you start with?
Yeah, it was funny. I got to a stage where I had 5 product ideas, and I kind of hit that wall of like, putting the pressure on which one I should launch first. And at one of those masterminds I had over a bottle of whiskey, we made a decision to move on it. And the first one was this really cool, unique, table setting pieces that I launched with. Super cool, kind of snowflake organic style designs that we had done that was really kind of craft focused and did really well. And then the second product I launched after that, which really took off as well, was a car seat cover, which at the time I had this idea around creating a quick on-off car seat cover that's was almost like a glorified towel that you could absorb sweat on, but then take it off and use it again and wash it, and almost like after yoga or whatever it was, and that did incredibly well. So those were kind of my first iterations of products on Amazon.
It's really interesting. So you guys hit it off, you partner up, you have the software, you bootstrap it, you get it created in India, you get these first features. What was a milestone, like a first milestone, whether it was a feature set or a client or customer with ZonGuru?
Oh, geez. Yeah, there were many. I think the first couple of milestones, like the first 100 customers was an awesome milestone. And that literally came out of me setting up in the back of bars in Los Angeles and trying to create like the initial communities around people wanting to sell on Amazon and presenting to them and just.
So you'd invite a group and invite them to a bar or some kind of happy hour and present your software.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was kind of like the first initial.
How did you get them there?
I'm trying to remember how we did it. There was email.
Was it like social media? I don't know.
Social media. There was I think meetup.com was a driver in the initial days. We had a few friends in the space, so word of mouth. I'd created a kind of a breakfast meetup group as well with entrepreneurs in LA. Trying to foster entrepreneurial spirit, and there was a lot of word of mouth and people that they knew from that got some people in. So it was very much just
it's real grassroots, like inviting people to an event, presenting. And I totally relate to this, John. When I was practicing chiropractor in Kentucky, I would have a free dinner workshop that I would give about spinal health. The way I got people there, this is almost embarrassing actually, but like I would, this is what they had us do. I would hand out free, I would stand outside of like grocery stores and other venues and hand out free dinner cards, spinal workshop dinner cards. That's how I got people to go. And then I give a talk and educate them. So you were doing it more sophisticated than I was, But
I mean, even then, it wasn't really that sophisticated compared to what you can do now. But yeah, that was it was an interesting. That was my first entrepreneurial gig and startup, and Adam was a great mentor in that stage, and just going like, hey, like it's coming. We're going to get the first 50, the first 100, the first 1,000. The first X thousand. Just kind of keep going, and that's what the beauty of SaaS is if you've got a great product and you can retain them, you build on that, right? So that idea of patience and determination, I think was key in those first few days.
I thought you were going to say Adam was teaching e-commerce education to a bunch of people. You offered to them and they signed on, but it wasn't that smooth.
Oh, well, no, that was, because remember, he was now based in Australia. So he was creating his own community, and that was a big funnel for us, for sure. I mean, that got us our start and managed to allow us to bootstrap it with the influx of customers. So that was the biggest marketing engine for us for the first couple of years. But outside of that, in LA and what I was doing, was kind of bootstrapping. But that first 100 was definitely before the education side. That came later. And that's, started to hit us with our thousands of users and, some milestones there of going over to Australia. We had events there that, we were presenting to 4,500 people and kind of walking through, the ideas and the passion around Amazon, right? Which I still have today. It's just it's an epic platform for anyone out there to help, scale their financial growth. Yeah.
When you look back, I'm sure you got a lot of feedback over the years. What sticks out to you as a feedback from a customer that helped shape a key feature or product that you offer? Yeah,
that's an interesting question. Not one specific client jumps out in terms of, hey, they directed our product. But I think, we certainly have many, many customers that have just, given us some fantastic feedback. I think, I think one of the cultural things about ZonGuru, which is important, is that from the very first day, of starting ZonGuru, I incentivized our team to become sellers, because I understood this idea that, like, in today's world, everyone's going to have a side gig, or at least, should be trying to become a business owner in some fashion. And in our space, why not become an Amazon seller? And that's certainly something you can manage on top of your day job, right? And so we started to build, and still today, we have some very successful sellers and strong DNA from people inside of our organization. I think we've actually got an engineer who started with us a year ago, and he's just clocked, he just clocked his 7 figures on his business. So it's still happening today, but that kind of internal seller DNA and passion that we had from our team, that's always been one of the things that people have really responded to, is like, we get them, we want to help them, the passion is there, and we help them along the journey. So I think that's more of the theme that I would take, rather than them just directly inputting into a specific feature.
How do you decide on pricing early on?
That was competitor driven at the time. Yeah, I mean, that was our first take on pricing. Was like, hey, how can we take all these potential different tools, we're going to put them into one, and how do we come up with a price? So it was purely kind of a what's in the marketplace and how should we price. Obviously, we still consider that. The evolution of that is definitely more of a SaaS focus, which is looking at your contribution margin, your tech costs, and ensuring that you kind of at that 80, that 20% gross margin, and you can scale from there. So as your business scales, and certainly in our case, because it is such a sophisticated tech, there's a lot of costs that we have to account for. So inputting that into our costs pricing is critical.
How did the team change? Initially you're bootstrapping, you had a team in India create it. How'd the team evolve over time?
Yeah, it evolved massively. And I would say that going back to that challenge, I as we started to scale, I clearly had a frustration with our current tech team, in that there wasn't a desire or a curiosity to truly understand what we were trying to do, our target audience, our product, our business objectives. It was more about like, hey, let's just create the software as easily as we can, and not really think about the scalability of the product. And so I started looking elsewhere, I gravitated towards Eastern Europe, and I started working with an agency over there. But during that process, we had kind of a big problem with one of our tools, and I found a seller who had created an API that I started using in our product. That seller, who is also an engineer, is now our CTO, Stefan, and my partner, Stefan Rachev. He's based in Sofia, Bulgaria. And so we just kind of started our conversations, and then it just made sense to bring him in as a partner. And that's where the magic really started to happen, because he's got a major pedigree on building enterprise tech for large companies, but he had also started his own side hustle selling on Amazon. So he clearly understood our audience, our business objectives, and the magic just started to happen there, and we built a team around that, and that was if I can give any insight into building tech, if you can create a culture around what is our strongest value, which is curiosity, and you can get your team to truly understand your product, your audience, and your business objectives, and they can want to figure that out for themselves, and then create a scalable, a solution with a vision. You've got magic and gold happening right there, and that's what we have internally inside of ZonGuru. Is a team that is always curious, is always trying to figure out how to solve things for our customers, for our tech, our industry. They are sellers themselves, and they are certainly not just trying to get there fastest with a shortcut, but something that's truly scalable, because they have an invested interest in us becoming a massive tech platform with thousands, tens of thousands of users.
So, John, you find this magical unicorn, which is like a seller who's an engineer who you can have come on. At what point of the company does that happen? Like, how many years have gone by that you were working until you found this person to bring on a CTO?
This was
Yeah.
late 2017, early 2018, around that time.
So it's very early on.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's maybe a couple years.
couple years.
I asked because I'm curious about how do you structure bringing someone as a partner, right? You're already working the business, both you and Adam are working the business for a couple years. How do you structure the partnership? Is there somewhat of a buy-in, or do you just give someone a percentage based on the valuation? How do you think about structuring? Because someone listening may be like, you know what? Obviously, it's a huge incentive to bring someone on. You want them to be dedicated. So making them a partner. But how did you think about the equity piece at that point?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer on that is that, if you can find that unicorn and someone that can fit your business and has that expertise and technical skill, you want to bring them in. We gave a significant portion or a percentage of the business with a vesting over 4 years, right? So that's the general structure that we put in place, and a salary to boot as a working partner on this, right? There was no kind of buy-in or anything along those lines. We truly knew that the assets of his expertise was going to pay off, if he stuck around, and he has. The gig at the time was like, okay, well, we have this core base of users. We have pretty crappy, built tech with good vision and good solutions, but the back end was just a mess. So how do we literally transform that into a brand new, platform that is scalable? And that took about 8-9 months to kind of rebuild that whole thing in the right way with the right people. And I mean, honestly, if I tell you, if we push anything live right now, we hardly ever get anything that breaks. It's truly unbelievable, the team that we built there.
Talk about, creating tech for agencies. And what are some of the things that are in the product in ZonGuru because of that? Because I've seen software, like I've gone into software and you could tell it was not built for agencies. I mean, it's not built for it at all. What were some of the things you had to put in place? Because you do, I know you do have an enterprise solution tailored for agencies.
Yeah. The backstory to that was, it was around maybe 2 years ago now, kind of out of the pandemic, as everything, e-commerce started exploding, profits were massive, and the whole agency services side really blew up. Everyone was starting to use agencies, managed services, trying to scale, and certainly the transfer of big brands from retail onto e-commerce and Amazon was huge. So trying to service them at a more sophisticated level was the goal. And we actually brought in a VC partner at that stage with the goal of saying, hey, how do we invest in and start to explore this specific segment of the market? Because at the end of the day, that's one of the biggest growth areas, and certainly taking us more in line with kind of enterprise growth and where the market is going. So, we got that, and we started exploring how to service them. And I think, one of the biggest wins we've had for agencies has been part of our DNA, which is that lens of always being, less shiny object focused, really focused on more, what's the 80-20, what's the most impactful data, how can we present that, and how can we do that in the most fast and efficient way? That's kind of the DNA of our tool. So that has worked for agencies for sure, because when you're doing things at scale, those kind of things matter. But the few differences we've done is one, you're right, architecturally, we had to change the platform for enterprise, and we built a structure where you can have a kind of a sub-project view for each client, and then, have the ability to give permissions access to that for anyone on the team for certain tools, etc. So it's a much more scalable, flexible system that can be molded to how an agency wants to use it. So that's one of the biggest differences. And then, the big ones to date have been more on the bulk optimization side. So, going in and just tracking keywords at an individual level, having to input that or those kind of things, it just doesn't work at an agency level. So you need to be able to do things, set up at bulk and then do some optimization work at bulk. So that's been a critical piece. And then I think the other big advantage has been around, we've always taken the view of like, we're not trying to create tech to, help the agency grow. What we've done is we've focused on how do we create tech to help the account manager be more efficient and set a higher level of quality of their output and their work, right? Or the account manager or the listing or the optimization experts. And so that's been a really big thing for us, because at the end of the day, as an agency owner, if you've got a team of people working on your client's business and their quality level is set at a higher bar and they're getting the right kind of insights to make impact on that business, that's ultimately where the rubber meets the road and how it can be successful. So it's figuring out in that mix who are the core target audiences that we're going after, and then how do we service them better has been important in our kind of evolution.
You had John, an agency out of Washington. What kind of ways were they using ZonGuru?
Oh yeah. I would say most agencies that use our product, including the one out of Seattle, Washington, is around our SEO aspects of keyword intelligence and listing optimization. That's where they start. And this one in particular is a very data-driven agency. A lot of ex-Amazon employees. With some very sophisticated large accounts. I think their portfolio is 300 million in revenue, and they had very, very specific techniques of how to optimize for organic growth, and that was all in-house. And they started to use our system and had better results with better niche rank, better BSR, and just performing at a better level. So it's kind of that feedback that we get when, if I just reflect on me personally as a CEO, sometimes when you're trying to sell your product to brands, Amazon sellers, in that more of an inbound fashion, they don't necessarily fully appreciate or understand your product and know how to use it in the best way. And it's when you connect with really sophisticated sellers and they're like, wow, this is insane, and the results are there. It's pretty cool to get that pat on your back and that validation that you're doing the right things, right? Coming from experts, ex-Amazon employees who built the algorithm and just going like, you guys nailed it, which is a pretty cool feeling.
What have you said no to? I'm sure you get requests. You see other software out there, or you get requests to do things. And also, I think saying no also creates a more robust partner ecosystem for people, right? Because you're like, okay, they do this, we do this. And I know you have actually a partners page, which I'll pull up in a second. But what have you said no to that no, that's not what we do. That's not the core of our product.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, in that, our approach in going to the market was more of this all-in-one software. So in a nutshell, we said yes to quite a lot, which sometimes I'm like, hey, there's advantages to having a number of tools, but there's also a lot of advantages to being very specific in one area. So that has been a challenge for us, not only on creating tech at the highest industry level, but also in terms of marketing, right? Because you're marketing to a bunch of different areas. But But outside of that, the big things we've said no to is one has been PPC software. That was on the cards at one point, and we said no to that, just because purely I feel that that's a whole tech into itself. We've said no to very deep inventory level management software, which is another whole world. And we've also said no at this point to omnichannel. We focused specifically on Amazon globally, that's been very successful for us, and we'll hold on to that for some time.
Yeah, so I'm looking. You can see I'm on the partners page, and that's kind of where I was when I look through it. That sticks out the most, right? Because the PPC piece, right? I imagined that you said no on purpose to that because it's a beast in some of those other things. Here are some of the other, you can check out zonguru.com/partners and just see some of the other, partner companies that they have on the site here. I don't know if there's anyone or company notable that has been impactful as a partner for you on this.
Yeah, I think, we have a lot of obviously agency partners that we service and are doing great things in the space. This is our general partner page. We do also have some integrated partners inside of our app, which you can't access without obviously logging in. But the idea there is, we have a customer base, and there are specific areas that we have said no to, and we want to make sure that we can recommend that service or software to our users, and notably, those are partners that we've vetted, that we use internally with our own sellers and with our own management team internally, and we know it's a really good software. So some of those are things like Scale Insights is the PPC software that we support. They are based out of Singapore. A lot of 7-figure plus sellers use the software. Prophecy, Chad Rubin, that's definitely one around pricing automation that we support. Seller Candy, John Cavendish, who
I saw that. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, they've got kind of a customer support service for all the challenges that come out of Amazon.
Seller Candy, here it is. Seller Candy acts as a technical arm of your, it says never talk to seller support again. That's a great tagline right there.
And they have a refund service as well. So we partner with them. All of these guys that we partner with, a critical point there is they have to fit our value set, right? And not only do they have to have great tech or services, but they have to have our value set, because again, we want to make sure that if we recommend this to our customer base, they have a similar experience dealing with these partners as they do with us, right? And so I always look for that in our partners, and certainly Chad, John, Daniel from Scale Insights, those guys are all other one is Ian Sells, Join Brands, the guys from $1 Million Seller Club. Those guys all fit our value set and are just really passionate about our space, right? Which is good.
Talk a little bit about, I saw on your site that you have a growth audit. And I imagine, you've been a seller before. And so what are you looking at in this growth audit?
This is a challenge that's come out of us talking with our kind of top brands that we connect with, and also with our agencies, which is the biggest kind of problem of 2023, which is the common theme is, hey, we might be flat in sales, or we might be growing in sales, in revenue, but the cost that has cost us to get those sales has been much higher. PPC, Amazon fees, the impact on profit has been substantial. And so this idea of the growth audit has evolved out of the brainchild of our engineers and our sellers, which is trying to understand, of your products that you sell on Amazon, what is your current revenue that you're doing, and what's the obtainable TAM revenue that you can actually access that's realistic based on the keywords that you index for and where you rank for those keywords. And the idea behind the growth audit is to follow a data-driven method that we use to grow brands, which is focusing around the keywords in position 25 to 60, which is slightly off of page 1 of Amazon, which really is showing you that Amazon already recognizes you as a strong seller on those keywords, but you're not quite in the buying zone. And it's about how do we figure out what's the value of those keywords, and then what are the strategies we can use to get better ranking on that and tap into that buyer zone and the revenue that can come out of that. So that's the purpose of the growth audits, and we've put together an analysis where we look at those keywords and how to get there and the strategies around it. And we also look at a pricing analysis, which is a really cool way of looking at how are you priced in the marketplace versus your competitors. And at that pricing tier, what's the actual obtainable TAM that's available to you in terms of revenue? And so through those strategies, it helps brands scratch the itch around, like, what am I selling on Amazon right now? What can I potentially be selling? And actually, am I priced at the right price points to effectively compete? And am I competing for the right kind of revenue that's available to me on Amazon? So yeah, it's a pretty cool audit. We've put it in place and we run it as a manual service from our kind of base of our team for qualified brands, right? So they've got to be at a specific level, typically about 1.5 to 2 million and up on Amazon as an established brand, and then we'll run that audit for them and help them see what their potential profitable growth can be in 2024, which is cool.
I want to talk about some resources, John. What are some of your favorite conferences in the space? Yeah,
I like seller conferences, right? And what I mean by that is one that has a true DNA of sellers. And you go there and you just all of a sudden connect like-minded, in a like-minded way with others there, and they get you, and we all know the space. And the one that really stands out for me is AMZ Innovates in New York. I went to it last year, and there's so many conferences that are out there, but and they've evolved. Prosper is obviously still a well-known one, but that's evolved. It's more of like a services industry way of connecting, which has lost a little bit of that seller DNA that it originally had. But AMZ Innovate and the guys from MDS that are a big supporter of that was awesome. And so I'll continue to go to that one. That's we have another one, the European Seller Conference, which has a very similar DNA, which will be happening in Prague, I think, this year, which we're attending. That comes out of the Orange Click guys, who are always a good supporter of ours. So those are two that just pop front and center. But it was just going to those and just hearing stories from true brands that have absolutely scaled a beast on Amazon as one of their channels, not their only channel, but just being a reminder of how good of an opportunity e-commerce is, and specifically Amazon in terms of scaling a proper brand. It's just a good reminder and insane to see. It's just awesome.
John, I have one last question. Before I ask it, I just want to point people to check out ZonGuru.com, ZonGuru.com, to learn more. And like you talked about, there is something on the homepage actually that they can check out if they're interested, and if they qualify for the growth audit, like you said, they can click on that. My last question is just, as far as, it could be books, some of your favorite from a business perspective that you learned from. It could be mentors that you learned certain lessons from. What are some, it could be books or mentors that you could share with us that people can learn more about?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind, I would say right now is the EOS system around traction and the OKR system, which came out of Google. The objectives and key results. We we did a really deep dive as an organization at the beginning of this year around becoming more of a results-focused, growth-orientated company, which, you know, sounds funny to say, but you know, there's so many things going on that you can it can become not just your only focus, right? And I think we've done a really deep dive and re-engaging with those systems, and we've actually built out a very deep we actually ended up choosing the OKR system, and we built out a very deep you know, way of tracking all of this within Notion. If anybody's interested, we can. There's nothing in the space, so we created a system which actually the guys at Escala, Yanni Kozminski, you know, they're all you know, very deep into creating scalable systems, and they checked out our OKR system and were blown away by it. So that's a system that comes top of mind right now. And in terms of mentors, you know, I guess the one that just pops to mind is kind of a you know, a general one, but it came out of some conversations of late, which is just understanding that as a business owner, you have to have a partnership and a focus on obviously creating great tech, but there is absolutely an important piece around vision and brand, right? And owning that brand. And so, you know, Richard Branson, those kind of guys who are truly, that's what they were best at, is focusing on the brand. You know, is definitely always an inspiration and something I can always take out of more. And I had a recent conversation with a friend who was kind of losing a bit of a passion for his current business, and I was like, you know, he was getting stuck in the spreadsheets, and I'm like, that's your other partner's gig. They should be doing that. You know, you're the brand guy, and that's where you get your joy and your drive from, and what you're good at. So focus on that, right? So yeah, that's I guess what I would.
It's like the visionary and the integrator. So he was losing a bunch of his energy because he was probably looking at the integrator task. This person was more of a visionary type of person.
Exactly, and yeah, just that insight that, you know, no matter how small the organization, even if you don't have your right-hand guy or right-hand partner, there are people in your organization that are better at things than you, and you've got to get them to focus. And don't try and do that. Like, it came up in our workshop, they were like, "Yeah, John, you kind of suck at this," and I'm like, "Well, it's okay that I suck at that, because you guys are better at it than me, and I can be better at this, right?" So you don't necessarily have to a degree, you know, try and improve those things that you suck at. You focus on the things you're good at.
Love it. First of all, John, I want to thank you. People can check out EOS, what he's talking about. There's a book, Traction, by Gino Wickman. Actually, I did an episode with him, so you can check that out as well. And then one of the other books that's popular that John mentioned is Measure What Matters with John Doerr. They can check that out too. But John, thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks. It was amazing.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like $100 grand.